You're watching First Alert 7 News at 9 on the CW and live on YouTube with Lauren Munt and weather with Tom Tiefertiller.
And that's ultimately what we do here and what we want to do with this partnership between us, the county, and the city is we want to reach people quicker, we want to get them to the hospital quicker, and we want to save their life.
One item on your ballot this year involves Medical Center Hospital, and there's been a bit of confusion around it. In just a few minutes, we explain Proposition A and how it benefits residents outside of the city in Ector County. Thanks for joining us here for First Alert 7 News at 9 on the CW, and thanks to those of you joining us live on our First Alert 7 YouTube page. I'm Jay Hendricks in for Lauren Munt. City of Midland Health Services has confirmed a Midland County resident has died from the West Nile virus. West Nile virus is carried by mosquitoes who feed on infected birds. They then spread the disease to humans through a mosquito bite. It cannot be spread person to person. 80% of those who are infected show no symptoms at all, but can include headache, fever, and fatigue. To avoid getting mosquito bites, you are urged to wear long clothing and bug spray. Also limit your outdoor activities and dump any standing water around your home. You may have heard or seen some video circulating on social media about a group of men that are not from Odessa, but were paid to campaign at UT Permian Basin. They are voicing support for Javier Hoven, Denise Swanner, and Mark Mata. One of the men was wearing a Denise Swanner shirt today. One had on a Mark Mata shirt, and the others were wearing We Love Odessa shirts. They were handing out a voter's guide and Trump stickers to everyone that walked by. Ronnie Lewis, a longtime Ector County resident, had his first interaction with these men yesterday and says it is the first time he's seen anything like this.
It totally shocked me and mortified me because to me it's the biggest political story in our county's history. I couldn't believe it. They were from New Orleans, North Carolina, Dallas, one I think from California, and they couldn't even pronounce one of the candidates' names.
First Alert 7 News has reached out to Mayor Javier Hoven and Denise Swanner's campaigns to ask if they are aware of the groups and Odessans' concerns, but we have not gotten a response from either campaign. As the election season is in full swing, one item on your ballot involves Medical Center Hospital, and there's a bit of confusion around it. Some are mistakenly referring to this measure as a bond, but that's not accurate. It's a proposition. Proposition A will not raise the tax rate. It will only raise the tax cap. Each year, it costs city taxpayers $14 million for an ambulance or fire truck to respond to calls outside of city limits, while people outside of the city pay nothing. The current tax cap for Medical Center Hospital stands at 15 cents, and they are asking to raise it to 75 cents. That means residents inside city limits would see a net decrease in their property taxes, while those outside of city limits who currently do not pay for these services will experience a slight increase.
From 15 cents to 75 cents. It may seem like a big jump, but that is a standard rate for all hospitals. All other regional hospitals in our area, every single one of them has a 75-cent tax cap, except Medical Center Health System, which was set back in the 1980s.
As we said, in exchange, residents outside the city limits will benefit from lower homeowner insurance rates as their risk rating decreases due to improved emergency services. The hospital is pursuing this change because they recognize a growing need for expanded emergency services in areas beyond the city limits.
When you're having heart problems, minutes are muscle. When you're having stroke problems, minutes are damage to your brain. We want to get the patient here faster to us, provide better care for the folks outside of the city limits of Odessa, and give our fire and EMS people what they need to get it done.
If the tax cap is raised, the hospital is planning to expand fire EMS services, which will eventually result in an increase in property taxes, but only if approved by voters. However, any potential tax increase likely won't take effect until around 2027. In Texas, early voting got off to a hot start on Monday with more than 881,000 people casting their ballots in person. Monday's turnout, breaks records from the first day of in-person early voting in the last presidential election. According to the Texas Secretary of State's office, in 2020, just over 755,000 voted on the first day of early voting. This is the first presidential election with new Texas voting laws in effect. In 2021, the Republican-led Texas legislature passed a law that shortened the number of days that early voting is available. It also put in place new rules around the hours that early voting locations could be open. Well, less than 2 weeks to go before Election Day, the U.S. Postal Service is talking about its efforts to successfully deliver election mail through the November 5th presidential vote. The U.S. Postal Service says it has more than enough operational capacity to deliver the nation's ballots in the final weeks of the 2024 election. In a virtual event, officials shared details on steps they are taking to ensure that election-related mail is delivered on time and securely.
We've made significant investments in enhancing the Postal Service's delivery security in its network, including installation of new high security collection boxes, electronic locks, a number of measures that help ensure the security of all mail, including ballots and other election mail.
The Postal Service says the 2020 general election and the 2022 midterms, more than 99% of mailed ballots were delivered to elections officials within the 7 days. As the cost of housing has gotten more and more expensive for Americans, it's become a big issue in the 2024 campaign trail. Our Washington correspondent Stetson Miller tells us about the different housing policy proposals from Vice President Harris and former President Trump.
As the country has grappled with the lack of affordable housing, it's become a hot-button topic on the campaign trail for both Harris and Trump. But their approaches to solving the problem are very different.
As president, I will work in partnership with industry to build the housing we need, both to rent and to buy.
Both Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump said they will work to solve America's ongoing housing affordability crisis. The Harris Walls platform says they will put forward a plan to build 3 million more rental units and more homes that are affordable in her first term. Other plans include giving first-time homebuyers $25,000 to help with down payments, cutting red tape to build faster, penalizing firms that hoard homes, and passing legislation to outlaw forms of price fixing by corporate landlords.
As soon as I get to office, we will make housing much more affordable.
A spokesperson for the Republican National Committee said former President Trump's housing plans include cutting back on inflation and reducing the mortgage rate down to 3%. They also include securing the border and banning mortgages for illegal immigrants, who they say are driving up the cost of housing. Opening portions of federal land for new home construction and tax incentives are also part of the plans. But experts say addressing the housing crisis won't come easy for either candidate.
This is a problem that has been decades in the making. It's not a problem that we are going to solve very quickly.
The Bipartisan Policy Center's Associate Housing and Infrastructure Director Francis Torres says both state and local governments play a big role in addressing the housing crisis and will have to work with the president, but so will others.
Whichever candidate wins, it's very likely they are going to have to reach across the aisle and find solutions that have support on the other side as well. And this particular idea of how do you make it such that the federal government incentivizes state and local governments to make it easier to build housing in their states, particularly in states that have a significant undersupply of homes, is probably where that's going to go.
In Washington, I'm Stetson Miller.
I'm now taking a look at our weather forecast. Near record-breaking temperatures today. Chief Meteorologist Tom Teefer joins us. We almost broke a record, right?
Yeah, we tied a record for the day at 90 degrees out at the Midland International Air and Spaceport. The old record was set 90 back in 1934. Here's what we're looking at on the satellite and radar view. Still a couple of showers across Brewster County. That's been the favorite area for anything, but it is on a downward slide there, and most areas are quiet. We're seeing a couple of clouds across the Permian Basin. Again, 90 out at the Miller National Air and Spaceport, tying that record high for today, but plenty of low 90s across the area, as we saw temperatures up to 94 degrees in Fort Stockton, 95 in Presidio. And it's dark down in Fort Stockton. This is looking off to the south away from the city. So we are seeing those temperatures again near 80 degrees still in Pecos County, 81 in Monahans, but trying to cool off across the rest of West Texas, and current winds are kicking up a little bit. So a little bit of breeze for the start of the overnight hours as temperatures will slide down into the lower 60s, but another hot one on the way tomorrow.
Tom, thanks very much. The First Alert 7 supply drive is happening tomorrow. All donations will be given to North Carolina to help the Manna Food Bank, whose entire building and inventory was destroyed by Hurricane Helene. Over the last month, Manna has been able to collect donations from all over the country, but a big issue is having the manpower to organize and package all of these supplies for individual families. To avoid this issue, the West Texas Food Bank will deliver their 18-wheeler full with already sorted and boxed relief packages. The most important item they're asking for, non-perishable pop-top cans. That's because a lot of people are still without electricity and have no way to refrigerate or heat up any type of food item.
If you can bring one food item, anything canned pop top, doesn't matter what it is, you could eat it without heating it up. My number 2 thing would be for personal hygiene is that I would want someone to bring me a toothbrush and toothpaste.
By the way, tomorrow, First Alert 7 will be collecting items for the Manna Food Bank right here in the Music City Mall parking lot. You can also continue to drop items off at both the Odessa and Midland West Texas Food Bank locations. Last night, after hours of public comment, the city of Odessa passed an ordinance that says people cannot enter the bathroom of the opposite sex in public buildings in Odessa. That ordinance passed with a vote of 5-2, and there are exceptions for minors under 12, medical emergencies, custodial personnel, and first responders. But if a person knowingly enters a bathroom of the opposite sex, there will be civil penalties and trespassing charges. Its opponents say the ordinance was specifically targeting the LGBTQ community without solving any real issues. One advocate for the ordinance was the president of a statewide organization called Texas Values.
What we're seeing in our culture right now is people are trying to confuse people. They're trying to put pressure on people to question the beliefs between men and women, and whether men go into men's restrooms and women go into women's restrooms.
Odessa has real challenges we should be tackling, things that impact everyone's quality of life. Instead, we're wasting energy on where people go to the bathroom.
You can hear more from concerned citizens, the president of Texas Values, and council members by finding this story on our website, firstalert7.com. Mark your calendar. The city of Midland getting into the holiday spirit, I should say. They announced today the Merry Lights Holiday Experience in Centennial Park. It will include lights, music, smells, food. Centennial Park will be turned into a winter wonderland, plus local vendors with holiday specials. Mayor Lori Blong says it will be fun for the entire family with lights you won't want to miss.
This is actually a group that does lights for Disney World and other large organizations, and so they have a greater capacity to make these things excellent.
The market, Midland's Merry Lights, starts at 5:30 on Tuesday, December 3rd, followed by the tree lighting and a visit from Santa Claus. First Alert 7 News will be there to bring you the sights and sounds of this event live. And the Merry Lights Parade is on Saturday, December 14th, starting at 6:30. We will also be broadcasting that live as well. Midland's Merry Lights at Centennial Park will run throughout the new year. So ahead here on First Alert 7 News at 9 on the CW, it's Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We'll tell you how to stay safe online. Up next. Cybersecurity Month is underway, and the FBI making the public aware of the importance of artificial intelligence and how it can be manipulated by scammers. AI plays a prominent role in everyday lives, from using ChatGPT, using Alexa, and just posting about your lives online. But cyber criminals are taking advantage of these public forums and using AI in different scams to target people. You can protect yourself by creating a long password, using multi-step authentication, and running virus scans on your devices regularly.
Well, we are going to be looking at some more hot weather in our forecast coming up tomorrow. We'll take a look at that and show you a change for the weekend up next.
Now, from the First Alert 7 Weather Center, here's Chief Meteorologist Tom Tiefertiller.
Well, taking a look at temperatures out there, we are going to be looking at readings cooling off a little bit after the highs of today. Again, got up to 90 degrees. I don't know what I'm saying, 74, it's 78 right now, but 90 a little bit earlier today across the area, and that tied a record high for the day. As we are looking at pretty quiet weather conditions out there, just a few leftover clouds across portions of the Trans-Pecos into the mountain areas. We're seeing, again, a couple of showers hanging on there east of Marathon, but that's really about it, and everything's winding down for tonight. Taking a look at the weather makers, ridge of high pressure continues to build in and move across the area. This is actually going to start to shift to the west a little bit here over the next couple of days, and see this kink in the jet stream. Well, that's going to kind of carve this out a little bit, this jet stream, and allow a cold front to drop down across the area. So we'll see about a 10-degree temperature drop coming up on Friday into Saturday. Right now across the state of Texas, other than those clouds, back across portions of the Trans-Pecos into the mountain areas, we're seeing pretty quiet conditions out there. Temperatures again across the state today were hot, and again we did tie that record out at the Midland National Air and Spaceport. 90 degrees in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and Austin. Also some 90s along the Texas Gulf Coast. Now the Futurecast is showing, well, not a lot happening. Again, mountain areas will be favored for some clouds, maybe a shower or two to develop tomorrow afternoon and into the early part of the evening hours. On Friday, it looks like less activity in the forecast. Again, as we'll see a weak front start to drop down across the area with an east wind, maybe a couple of clouds with that, but also, again, a nice temperature drop. So for tonight, lower 60s on the way. It'll be a nice night with a couple of clouds early on. And then for tomorrow, record high is 92. We're going to be close enough there with 90 across the Midland, Odessa area, but you cross the Pecos and we're up into the mid to upper 90s tomorrow afternoon. But some help is on the way, get us a little bit back closer to where we should be this time of the year, into the lower 80s on Friday and into the start of your weekend. Then we warm back up a little bit as high pressure builds back in, but then it's going to fade away a little bit, and we're going to see another cold front, a little stronger one on the way middle part of next week, maybe in time for Halloween.
Up next here at 9, a renewed push for diplomacy in the Middle East. How America's top diplomat hopes this might be the final push to a ceasefire. The U.S. says now is the time to end the war in Gaza and is urging Israel to avoid further escalation with Iran. The plea comes from Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who is on his 11th trip to the region since the war broke out. CBS's Rami Inocencio reports from Tel Aviv.
America's top diplomat is in the Middle East trying to stop the conflict. But the Israel Defense Forces aren't holding back. Their jets pounded a port city in Lebanon Wednesday in a campaign they said that targeted Iranian-backed Hezbollah fighters. While in northern Gaza, Palestinians are on the move, trying to escape Israel's ramped-up offensive to stop Hamas from regrouping. This woman said, "We cannot take it anymore. We are dying and have nothing to do with this war." Secretary of State Antony Blinken is pushing peace on both fronts.
And there are really two things left to do: get the hostages home and bring the war to an end with an understanding of what will follow.
Blinken is urging Israel's leaders to capitalize on their military victories, like last week's killing of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, to help secure a lasting ceasefire.
Now is the time to turn those successes into an enduring strategic success.
Hostage families rallied outside Blinken's hotel in Tel Aviv Tuesday night, desperate for U.S. support.
this is like the last push of the Biden administration before the elections. We hope that the resolvedness of the American administration this time will actually do something and tip the scale.
Blinken met with Arab leaders in Riyadh Wednesday in a renewed quest to broker diplomatic ties between Saudi Arabia and Israel. Rami Inocencio, CBS News, Tel Aviv. All right, before we go, the world's largest digital camera is going to let us see the night sky like never before. Take a look at the 3,200 megapixel camera. This is being installed at Chile's Vera Rubin Observatory. That's a big one. Once operational, it will capture ultra-detailed images of the entire visible sky over the next decade. That's got to have some memory or something.
That's right.
Astronomers are excited and say they expect over the years to discover billions of stars, galaxies, and celestial objects. Telescope is now in the final stages of construction, and it is expected to be turned on next year. I wonder if it's like noisy things. I mean, there's things you just kind of wonder, but boy, you'd have to have a lot of memory for this.
Yeah, you'd have to have a 32 gigabyte or a little bit larger.
Yes. A little bit larger, I think so.
A little bit larger, okay.
Yeah.
And be sure to bring your own. You're always in need of one of those. Anyway, for the weather, well, a little stargazing tonight wouldn't hurt, as we're going to see some clear skies for the most part. Lots of sunshine on the way tomorrow. Temperatures into the lower 90s once again. Record high tomorrow is 92. We'll come close.
Come close, but then temperature's going to drop a little bit.
Yeah, we're going to see that weak front roll in, so a little bit of help there, but darn it, I want some nice fall weather, and that's not too much in the forecast. It's not
in that forecast right now. All right, well, go outside, look at the stars. Use your camera off your phone. It's smaller than that giant one in Chile. Yeah, we want to thank you for joining us here at 9 o'clock. More news coming up tonight on First Alert 7 News at 10.